Thank you, Lucas. For those of you who don't know Lucas, he is one of the Farragos. His father is the pianist, and his mother is our music assistant director and also in the choir. And this is Farrago Sunday, so... I'd also like to recognize that Dee Sunarth is back. He is an usher here since I came many, many years ago, and he recently had an accident, fractured a bone. Now he is pretty much recovered. Dee, you don't have to stand up, but we just want to say thank you for being back. For a moment, I'd like to draw your attention to the front of the bulletin. And although the dimensions aren't exactly accurate, this comes from a Chinese symbol from Taoism, and it is in the golden pearl in the square-inch room of the square-foot house. The square-foot house is supposed to represent the head. The square-inch room is supposed to represent the brain. And the golden pearl, they call it, within the square-inch room represents that state of consciousness or awareness that Jesus referred to as the kingdom of heaven. Other organizations or religious theologies call it paradise, they call it nirvana, whatever it might be. But it's that part within each and every one of us, within our consciousness that we have access to. It allows us to be very much at comfort with life, have peace of mind, have a strong sense of well-being. But also in that entire mix, it's also very important that there's a sense of pleasure about life. This morning, well, I need to correct something first. The original title of today's talk was, You Have a Fun-Loving Creature Within You. And on Tuesday, when I went to the series that we're doing and I looked at the title, I thought, what exactly does that mean? And I'm supposed to come out here and tell you that you have a fun-loving creature inside you. How to get there, I don't know. Maybe it's your parents' fault. Go to Bain's class and he can probably help you with that. And so if there is this fun-loving creature within you, well, how do creatures have fun? And what do? Well, creatures creep people out. And so now I'm going to come out here and say you have something inside you that creeps people out. And this is all coming up on my computer as I'm trying to figure out how I can pull this together. And then it dawned on me, if I come out and say there's something about you that creeps people out, I better take the offering before the talk. Anyway, I changed the title. It is now, you have a fun-loving spirit within you, a fun-loving spirit. There is an aspect of you that is fun-loving. We all love fun. We love enjoyment. We like to rejoice. 200 times in the Bible, it directs the people to rejoice with life, to rejoice with loved ones, to rejoice. And rejoice is having fun. We like to have fun. Now, fun has been underestimated, and it's also been a bit ignored over the years. But as of late, they're doing research about the benefits of fun. And they've discovered that fun, enjoyment, is actually essential to our sense of well-being. It's essential to a balanced life. There's something about us deep within our DNA where we need to have fun because it allows us to lighten up under the most difficult of situations. Fun is a part of life, but too often we seem to ignore it. My good friend David Nastor wrote a book titled You Just Have to Laugh. And it's full of stories about how fun and laughter show up in the most unusual places, places that you'd never expect. Norman Cousins, the political writer, was diagnosed with cancer, and he's in the hospital. The cancer was terminal. So he decided to go out with a laugh. He had them bring all of his favorite movies, comedies, into the hospital, and he watched them daily for hours and hours and hours, laughing in his hospital bed as he was dying with cancer. Well, to the surprise of everybody, the cancer disappeared. He called it the healing power of laughter and said laughter was responsible for him to be able to return to a life that was healthy and whole. When I first came here as a minister, 1991. It was right at the top of the AIDS epidemic. In the first year that I was here, I did funerals for 13 young men who had died of AIDS. Now, something magical happened in that time period. There was a transition that was made where we went from the traditional funeral, the dark doom and gloom, sadness, pray for the soul to get into heaven and pray that it doesn't go to hell, with some pontificating, dry as dust preacher up there rat-a-tat-tatting what death is all about. It went from that kind of a setting to a celebration of life. These young men knew that they were going to die. They knew they didn't have much time left. Most of them weren't working anymore, so they had a lot of time in their hands, and they began to sit down and plan their funeral. And it went from being a funeral to being a celebration of life. They brought flair to that whole end-of-life thing. They had theatrics, they had fanfare, they had slideshows, they had laughter. Many of you might remember Jeff Cornell. His funeral, he came in, he said he wanted everybody to bring a teddy bear to his funeral because he loved teddy bears. And then at the funeral, he wanted me to direct all the people in the audience with their teddy bear to have their teddy bear kiss the person next to them. And pretty soon the kisses turned into kind of like head bumps, and people started having teddy bear fights in the middle of the celebration of life. It was just absolutely crazy. But everybody left feeling so much uplifted and loving Jeff for the quirky kind of guy that he was, that it was just beautiful. Well, that celebration of life spread, and pretty soon it went into other sectors, and now 9 out of 10 end-of-life services I do are actually celebrations of life, where people come together to smile and to laugh and to tell stories and share memories and all the fun they had with the deceased. Doris died about 3 years ago. I did her funeral, and when it came time to sharing memories, her husband of 53 years came up to the lectern to speak. And he told the people, over the last 5 days, I've experienced many things for the first time. He said, I loved Doris from the first time I saw her, but it wasn't until this week that I realized exactly how much I loved her. He looked over at Doris in the coffin, and he said, this is the first time in 53 years that Doris has been on time for any event. He said, this is the first time in 53 years that I'm going to get the last word in. And he said, this Sunday will be the first time in 53 years that I'll be able to doze off in church without getting elbowed in the ribs. And people laughed because they knew that Doris was notoriously late. They knew that she loved to talk and she loved to enter into debative conversations. And she was just a character. And everybody loved that about her, even though it might have been a little bit bothersome in the beginning. Laughter and humor can also find its place into tragic situations. Leonard was in an accident and he lost his leg. It was amputated as a result. When he was in the hospital, people came with flowers and gifts and wonderful, beautiful, loving visits. And when he got out of the hospital, he went home and he wrote thank you notes to all of the people that had visited him in the hospital. He said, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. I am getting along fine, and I'll be back on my feet in no time at all. And then on every note, he put an X through feet and wrote in foot. I'll be back on my foot in no time at all. It's his way of lightening up the experience. Humor and laughter have its place, and it's not disrespectful when one person is putting something out that allows people to laugh about them and their situation. Many years ago, we had a young woman that worked here, a lovely young woman named Kimberly. And Kimberly was blind since birth. She had no sense of either light or dark. She had no sense of any color or any sort of shape or form. Kimberly knew that oftentimes people felt awkward around her because of her blindness. So she used it as a tool for humor. One time she came into the church, greeted me in the morning with a happy, loving smile, and she says, oh, Duke, you spilled something on your shirt. As I was searching my shirt looking for the stain, suddenly realized Kimberly can't see. And I looked up and she had this huge smile because she knew she'd gotten it. When she met people for the first time, she'd say one of her famous pastimes is driving a car. She just loved to drive a car. The people would inquire her, how on earth do you do that? She said, with one hand on the wheel and one hand on the road. She used her blindness as an object of lightness to allow people to levitate up and realize this is the way it is. It's never going to change. You know, let's lighten up the situation, and I'm okay with it if you're okay with it. They say that there are three things we need for a strong sense of well-being. First of all, we need growth. On a regular basis, we have to feel like we're growing, like we're evolving, like we're becoming more than we've ever been before. There's nothing more exhilarating than become something greater than you've ever been. We all need to continually grow. The second thing is we need relationships that are meaningful and that are supportive and that allow us to connect at a deeper level. We are social beings by nature. We need each other to have relationships that make us feel like we have a sense of oneness about it. And the third thing is that we all need to serve a greater purpose. We need to feel that we count, that as an individual we matter in this world, and that our life has a purpose. So we need to serve other people in some way. We need to feel like we're a beneficial presence to the earth. Those three things, growth, relationships, and a service to a greater cause, allow us to have a strong sense of well-being. And from a strong sense of well-being, happiness is born out of that. Now, when I say fun is essential, fun has to be laced through those three elements. We have to have fun, we have to enjoy, we have to be able to rejoice about our lives. And when I say fun, I don't always mean knee-slapping, rollicking fun, you know, where we have bellows of laughter and we're doing something that is kind of a frenzied activity. I'm talking about fun just in its most subtle element definition. To just be at a point where you just enjoy everything that is going on. Just before the service today, I talked to a good friend of mine. He's moving from North Carolina to San Francisco, California. And he's going to pack up his stuff, and he's going to have his car shipped, and he's going to have all of his belongings shipped to San Francisco, then fly out there because it's much faster and much more efficient. And then he decided to drive. And he said on that drive, he suddenly awakened to how beautiful this country is. He'd never seen it before. He'd never seen the Rocky Mountains. He had never seen the beautiful changing of the leaves. And the slow, leisurely drive, he said, he awakened to the fact that was everything. That was more important than the time constraints that he felt, more important than the stress that he had from his job. It was just being able to see the country that he lived in. In saying that, I suddenly realized that's what I need to do. It would be sad if I left this world never seeing the country that I lived in. So when I say fun, it means take that time for yourself, where you call a time out, you step back. There might be demands coming from all sorts of different directions. There might be expectations. There might even be a sense of obligation or guilt to do something. But take that time for yourself where you can step back and you can enjoy this incredible life that you have. It's all yours. You have time, and it's yours to spend any way you choose. Think about that as we go into meditation. What is the next thing you're going to do, whether it be today, tomorrow, or sometime this week, that brings a bit of fun into your life? We now move into meditation.